Hello, I'm Minister William Edward Turner, author of the Divorce Prevention Guide, Marriage Without Divorce, as well as marriage coach with Winning at Marriage, GYI, which stands for God, You, and I. Today, I wanted to talk to you about easing God out, or how your career can actually interfere with your marriage relationship. Sometimes the more successful we are, the more it does. I have to give you an example myself, is that being an executive of a couple of medical facilities at the time, and running another business that my wife and I had, where we were producing concerts and things like that, as well as her executive position, allowed us to kind of drift apart. And in the drifting apart, what I didn't realize was that we still could have probably did all those wonderful things that we were doing, but what we did was actually drift away from our relationship with God, the foundational relationship that kept us together, that made us solid, that made us the threefold cord that could not easily be broken. It seemed as if that as you come up, you're together, and the times are you're going through school, and you're not quite as wealthy as you were before, and it seems like things get better, and they get better financially, and they get better in your environment, and they get better with your accolades of your achievements, and you're being the best person you can be using your gifts and talents that God has given you. But it seems as we come up, oftentimes we slowly drift away from our relationship with God. We may be still going to church and going to Bible study, participating in the various different things, but we don't have that same zeal, that same hunger that we used to have with God. And we don't seem to communicate to each other that something's changed, but we don't know what it is. Oftentimes, we don't know what it is. We think that it's I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing that right, or not doing some other thing right. That we enter in to different self-help things, and maybe more activities and those different types of things. I remember going on a vacation one time, and we were supposed to be getting back together and spending time, quality time together and talking together. And what ended up happening was we went to Hilton Head and invited other people there. So at Hilton Head, we were there, and it seemed like the other people seemed to be a buffer between us really dealing with the issues at hand. The issues at hand seemed to be even something that were almost untouchable. We didn't know exactly what it was. We knew we wanted to be together. We loved each other, and that we wanted to be close together. But it seems that life's issue of her traveling and my traveling, and then we running another business on the side, and we had television program, we had concerts in the park, all these various different types of things going on. But it seemed that something was missing. And they couldn't put your finger on it. Something was missing. But after realizing later in life, what was missing was the relationship with God. It seemed that, you were too tired, maybe after getting back from the trip on a Saturday night, to go to church the next Sunday morning, and then you stopped going to Wednesday services because you were too busy, and you didn't sit down and pray together much anymore. And when you did, you just kind of did the Bible study so that you wouldn't look bad at a Bible study class, so that you could answer the questions and things like that. But what happened was that closeness that we had with God started to fade slowly but surely. We were going through the motions, looking on the outside, maybe even learning scriptures, knowing scriptures, but on the outside we looked good, but inside there was something wrong. One of the things that I find is that when we have these kind of situations, we seem to go to every place else other than seeking God for the solution. It seems like self-help books, somebody said something on TV, some friends went here or some friends went there, and then we're running around trying all these things to fix a problem that really is our relationship with God problem. As I talked about in one of the, I believe it was on the Saturday call, I talked about the fact that the Holy Spirit is an emulsifier. And an emulsifier is something that brings two things together so that they are able to bind together, combine together, and live in unity, and even brings a better flavor to the relationship. Example that I used was oil and water. Oil and water, as we all know, do not mix. But oil and water is actually one of the things that we put on our sandwiches all the time, and we call it mayonnaise. And mayonnaise is held together by the egg. Now, the egg acts as the emulsifier. It brings the oil and water together so that it not only stays together, but it also tastes a lot better. So in our relationships, when we allow the things of the world, our careers and our busyness to stop us doing the little things that got us to where we are, there seems to be that problem where we're saying we grew apart. And you grew apart because the Holy Spirit was not there continually being that emulsifier, bringing you together, binding you together. And what we needed to do was to get back to study time. Matter of fact, even apologizing to each other for just each other not holding up the fact that, hey, we need to be with God. We need to stand together with God, and that oftentimes God is even more needed when things are good as it was when things were not quite as good, when we didn't have as much. But when you have a lot, when you have much stuff, as he said, from who has much, much is required. So when you have a lot, you need to spend extra time with God, more time with God. You need to have a lifestyle that is God-centered. And when I say God-centered, it's not going through the motions like I was talking about, where you're just doing stuff and you're here, you're there, and you're at all the events, you attend all the church functions, you're on this board, that board, you got this license, you're participating in that, those kind of things. That is church stuff. But it's not necessarily relationship with God. It's when your relationship with God, when you were crying out together that God help us get through this situation, and we want to get all the stuff we need for the kids to get to school, or we need this for ourselves. God, don't let a car break down because we can't afford to have a car out of order because we both need to get to work, and we could drive miles apart, and it's more difficult if we had one car and one had to drive here and then drive 10 miles the other way. So then we were kind of really relying on God, trusting on God. But it's in the time when we have the abundant life, the time when we're in prosperity, that we need God just as much, if not even more, so that we don't drift apart. I want to thank you for watching. This is Minister William Edward Turner of Winning at Marriage, GYI, which stands for God, You, and I. You have a wonderful and blessed day. I'm often asked, what is marriage coaching? Well, marriage coaching is just like athletes have coaches. Now, athletes have coaches because they want to maximize to 100% their skills and gifts and talents, so that every day when they go out to do their job, they're performing at their peak performance. Well, Winning at Marriage, GYI, God, You, and I, marriage coaching is about optimizing your gifts and skills as a couple that God has planted in both of you so that you can give 100% to your marriage. Marriage coaching, what we do is we use God's foundational principles for marriage success and secrets that we've gathered from happily married Christian couples. Now, one of the questions that we always ask, what is or what was your idea of an ideal marriage? If you had no constraints with time or resources, what would that be? As well as who in your life would benefit from a better version of you besides yourself? What relationships would benefit? And what would be better for all those people around you? Well, my suggestion is take 2 or 3 minutes and fill out the quick eval form. And what we can do is determine together if you need a marriage coach. You may not. You may have it all together, or you may be doing fine in the direction they're going. So I don't want people that don't need a coach, just those who could use a coach and could rise to that next level. If you're good, you can get to the next level. And if you're great, there's still a next level that you could go to then. So what I do is tell you to go to our website, Winning at Marriage, and you'll find that on GYI. Just look it up on Google. You'll see it there. Or if you're on one of our email flyers, there's a link down at the bottom. You just click on that and that'll take you there. So what you do, and even if you're on YouTube, the link is probably listed in the description there. So do that and get with us. Just fill out the form. It takes about 3 minutes to do that, and we'll get back with you and see if marriage coaching is for you. You have a wonderful and blessed day.